Hey guys, I'm here with another Nightmare Corridor video. Now last week's video was a bit short, so I'll try to make this one a little longer, and I've brought a few different guides with me in this video that we can go over together, and then obviously I'll show you my teams as well. Now for my teams, I think my ranking is going to tank a bit for this round because the Abyssal Expedition has started, and that means my tree is completely messed up, and thus most of my heroes are not that strong. For example, as you can see here, my ranger faction is without any tree really at all to back it up, so my ranking is going to tank this time around, but it is what it is. I'll still show you guys my teams, and then I'll show you guys I think 3 different Chinese guides, and then I'll also show you guys a very free-to-play friendly guide, and I'll also link these guides in the description. But let's start out with my team. Now, the first round here is the Awakened Athalia round. However, if you don't have Awakened Athalia, you can definitely use some sort of Rem combination, and I've also seen a Mishka combination that I'll show you guys later. But for me, I'm using Rem with the Seal Pet, and obviously if you use Rem here, you can use it with Scarlet, but Gris works fine with Scarlet, right? So this is a good option to slot out an Awakened hero here, Awakened Athalia, and then throw in a dimensional hero, which is of course much cheaper. Now for the second team, this is the most stable team. This is the same that it has been as always. The only thing that changed was last week when the buff was on this. As you can see, it's now on the Dark Namora round. Last week you had to use Maulers here, but now we're back to just the standard Yorin comp with Wilders and 2 Maulers. Next up we have the round with the buff, and this buff needs you to field 3 Celestial heroes, and that increases your team's overall effectiveness. For me, I just threw in my strongest Celestial heroes that I wasn't already using, and then Orthos, because Orthos is the best in slot hero here. Of course mine is not that built, however it is a Celestial hero nonetheless, and I just threw in Talene and I threw in Moriel, and then obviously I kept Rowan in here, and then I have a Maitria Merc, but I'll also show you guys the Brutus variation, the Kryn variation later in the video if you don't have Maitria available to you. Now the fourth round, this is the Awakened Thane round. Now obviously I don't have Awakened Thane, and most of you guys probably don't have Awakened Thane either, and this is where Crashio comes in as a replacement. As you can see, it's decent time, right? And also you gotta remember, actually I'm not even sure, yeah, he is a ranger, right? And my ranger tree is completely botched for this week, so this could do even better with a higher ranger tree, but obviously if you had Thane, you would use the Awakened Thane, and if you want to use the Awakened Thane, I'll show you guys the best formations for that guy. And then obviously if you had all the heroes, you could look at the leaderboards for the top player formation. Now for the second to last team, this is the Belinda team. Nothing has changed much here. There's really nothing to note here. If you have Belinda, you use Belinda. If you don't have Belinda, you probably Merc Belinda. If you have Belinda not fully built, she probably still works. However, I'm not sure about that, because I believe someone said that she does not actually work at lower investment in Nightmare Corridor. I'm not so sure about that. And then for the last team, obviously this is the Scarlet team, and this is where you would use Rem instead of Gris if you had Awakened Athalia in the first round. Now for most people that don't have Awakened Athalia, Gris slots in nicely as a replacement for Rem, and then for the last heroes you just use supports, right? Twins and Estrilda. And then for me, I use Damia. However, I'll show you guys later, Damia actually works at as low as Elite Plus. She doesn't need any investment, really. Obviously she's better with investment, but she can work at very, very low investment. But that's it for my guys. As you can see, my time did get a lot worse for this round compared to the last 2 weeks. However, my tree's messed up, and I'm a little sleep deprived after the Abyssal Expedition launch this night. But that's enough of my team. Let us venture over and look at some different guides for this round. Now this is more catered towards, this first one is more catered towards people who have every single formation, or I should say people who have different Awakened heroes than I do. For example, maybe you have Awakened Athalia and you would like to know how that looks. I would tell you to look at the leaderboard, and then also you can look at this guide, right? So this is how the Awakened Athalia formation would look. Now I believe this one is actually from the first round of this round of Nightmare Corridor, which means that this first boss had a Light Bearer or Wilder buff, That's why you see Fox in here. But obviously, for the most up-to-date thing, just look at the leaderboard if you have Awakened Athalia and build that team. The second team, nothing to note here. It's the same as always. Third team here, you can see the Brutus variant, right? Brutus Kryn variant. However, obviously, for this round, you would want to use 3 Celestial Heroes instead of the other supports here. So you want to slot those in, and I believe I have a different guide for that. Now for this one, this is the Thane. So if you have Thane, you can't look at my teams because I don't use Thane, but you can look at the leaderboard and you can look at this formation here. And also it lists a replacement for Kryn with Leica. And then here, obviously, this is the Belinda team, nothing of note here. If you don't have Belinda, actually, it seems like you can lose Rem here. So Rem is kind of a hotly contested unit, right? Because you can be used here, here, and here. But obviously, if you had both Belinda and Awakened Athalia, you would be able to use Rem in the last team instead of Grisul or Baden and make this team, right? So that's one of the Chinese guides. I believe, actually, isn't this the exact same one? No, I think this is from, yeah. So this is slightly different because this is from the next round, the current round, I should say. So this is actually the one that you would want to be looking at, because as you can see here in the third round, the Matria round, they're using 3 Celestial Heroes, which indicates that this is from our current round, right? So for me, I didn't have a Thalia build, so I just threw in, who did I throw in again? I threw in Muriel and I threw in Taline, right? But if you had Athalia, she's better here. And then obviously if you don't have Matria, interestingly enough, Awakened Sophia seems to be making a appearance here with Kryn. But obviously you would also be able to do the Brutus variation shown earlier, but to less effectiveness this time around because you don't use the 3 Celestial Heroes. And then for the rest of the teams, it's the exact same as before. Now, another one that I want to look at, just, you know, to hammer it in, right? This is from the Lightbearer round, I believe, because you can see the 3 Lightbearer, 3 Wilder here. So what we really want to focus on are these teams, right? And they all agree, right? It's the, you know, the Yoran team, the Matria team, and then you can use Kryn or you can use Brutus. Then it's the Thane team, then it's the Belinda team, and then it's the Scarlet team with Rem, if you don't need her in any of the other rounds, right? I'll link these guides down below so you can look through them yourself. Now, another thing I've brought with me here is some different screenshots I found that I thought was interesting. So shout out to Konchiev from the crowdsourcing Discord server. He posted his teams. Now, they aren't super free-to-play friendly, as you can see, using Awakened, like using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fully built Awakened Heroes. But I wanted to bring this mainly for the first team, because if some of you guys have been asking me what to do with Baden if you have Baden built, right? And Rem obviously replaced Baden in the last formation, but funnily enough, then Baden can go into the first formation just like Rem can and carry it with this formation. So this was basically why I brought this guy, because I wanted to show you guys some Awakened Baden options if you guys have that guy built. And then I will bring back this one, which I think is still the best low budget clear I've seen of this round of Nightmare Corridor. Now obviously it's not this round, it's 2 weeks old, right? And shout out goes to this user who I cannot pronounce, sadly. But this guy clears the Nightmare Corridor, all 5 bosses, in 6 minutes. And even though that's a terrible time, right, what matters for most people, or for lower accounts, is just clearing the rift. So if you can clear it in 6 minutes, that's perfect. It's much better than clearing 5 of the bosses in 4 minutes. You want to clear 6 bosses, and then you want to take it from there, working your time down. So as you can see here, now this one is actually one thing that I don't believe will work, because this is from the first round where 3 Wilders would give you a massive buff in the first formation. So I don't believe the RAKU formation actually works. However, I haven't tested it without the buff. Now for the next one, this is pretty standard, right? Soulless, and I believe Soulless can work at Legendary. And then for this one, this is an example, right, of the Brutus comp that I talked about, right? People ask, oh, I don't have Matria, what can I do? You can use Brutus and you can use Kryn. And if you don't have Brutus, you can use Kryn alone. However, it's not guaranteed that it would actually kill the boss, right? I have ran some rounds with just Kryn in this team, and you basically need like to pull in twins along with all your other good supports to make it kill the round. Now down here, another people are asking me, hey, I don't have a Curatio, right? Well, is there any replacements for Curatio? And I usually say, yeah, any carry unit like Lucretia or just high damage units could probably replace them. And here's another example of a replacement for Curatio that is still free to play friendly because it's using Vithiel, which I know is a Celestial, a newer Celestial hero that you're probably not guaranteed to have built. That did zoom in a lot. However, as you can see, his Vithiel is not even super built out, and you could probably replace that guy with Lucretia. Then for this round, it's Belinda. You're gonna find it hard to find people not using Belinda the 5th round. And then for the 6th round, it's the Scarlet Gress thing. Now, I think that I can tell you guys to improve upon this, which is a great baseline. I'll link it below, of course. Oh, another thing is he's using Damia at Elite Plus, right, as you can see here. Use this as a baseline, and then for the first team here, I would slot in Rem instead of Raku, and then you're pretty much good to go, and you can probably, as long as you have a Belinda available to you, you can probably get through killing all 6 bosses, even at a lower account. But I think that's what I wanted to go through. I'm personally pretty excited for the upcoming rounds of Nightmare Corridor, because one thing I'm looking at is, because I want to build my next Awakened hero, and I'm thinking it might be a Thalia right at this point, but I really want to see what happens when this team rotates out and a new team rotates in, what happens to the Thalia team, right? Basically, I want to know if it's Thane or Thalia who's going to get dropped out or dropped into the new team. I kind of want to look at that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I hope you guys are having fun in the Abyssal Expedition if you guys are playing that. I know we sat in the voice call in my guild. Well, at my time it was like 3 AM, but for some of the Americans out there it wasn't too bad. But I still enjoyed it anyways, and I think it's the best. It's the best event for me, anyways, because it's like the only guild corporation event really out there. And also another thing is some people asked me for a free-to-play Abyssal Expedition guide. I will not be providing that because we're a competitive Abyssal Expedition guild, so I don't want to leak our strats, so to speak. But I will, if you guys are interested in Abyssal Expedition, I would check out Zero on YouTube. He's the guy who runs the AFK Arena, the crowdsourcing Discord server, and he has put out a Abyssal Expedition Season 10 composition guide. That is pretty good. So if you guys check out that video, you will have guidelines as to what boss comps you can use for the Abyssal Expedition. But that was a bit long-winded. Didn't really want to put this in the video, but now it's here anyways, and that's due to my rambling nature. But I will be ending the video here, and I hope you guys can score higher in the Nightmare Corridor.